Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about Cisco email security appliance, and here we are going to discuss on how an email is being accepted from the sender, how the email is getting processed in the device, and how the email is being delivered to the destination host. In this process, there are three important things to be noted. One is MID, ICID, and DCID, as you can see in the screen. So MID is nothing but message ID. It is a unique identifier assigned to a particular message by the email security appliance, and it is associated with every message received by the Cisco appliance and can be tracked in mail logs also. And next thing is ICID. ICID is nothing but injection connection ID, and injection connection ID is a numerical identifier and for an individual SMTP connection to the system over which 1 or 1,000 emails can be sent. So that is how it is. And next thing is DCID. DCID is nothing but delivery connection ID. This is also a numerical identifier for an individual SMTP connection to the another server to which it is destined to. And in this also over 1 to 1,000 emails can be sent along with all its RIDs. RID is nothing but recipient ID, and it can be delivered in a single mail, a message transaction. All the RIDs can be delivered in a single message transaction. So this is all about the three important IDs that will be used in the email lifecycle: accepting, processing, and then delivering. So first thing, we'll talk about injection connection ID and then how it gets processed, and then we'll talk about how it's getting delivered, and MID will be throughout. Okay, so here in my screen, if you can see, first thing is the SMTP ICID is it is an SMTP connection. The email transaction happens on port 25, and port 25 is for email traffic. So here in the IP address that you're seeing is the IP address of the interface in the email security that accepted the connection. So I would like to give more information other than what is there in the screen. The screen contains the information that is minimal to the public interface, but I'll let you know more details on what all it can contain, the email, the injection connection ID. So basically it contains, first thing is the sender group that it has matched. So which sender group it has matched? Sender groups are nothing but as soon as the email is, the sender is trying to connect to the device, it first checks through the sender group. People who have details, who have basic knowledge on how email security appliance works, they can understand what I'm talking about, the sender groups. No worries, in future I'll do videos on all the topics, but for now just understand there is a sender group, and these sender groups are will have mail flow policies. According to the mail flow policy, the email will be scanned in the device, and for these sender groups to be matched, the SBRS code can be used, or the sender details can be mentioned in the sender group, all those things. So for now you can just understand that there's a sender group that will get matched, and based on the SBRS code or the sender IP address mentioned in it. So SBRS score is nothing but SBRS is nothing but sender-based reputation score. This reputation score is calculated based on the IP address behavior in the internet. So if the IP address in the sense sender IP address, if the sender IP address is sending good emails, bad emails, spam emails, phishing emails, marketing emails, bulk emails, social emails, what kind of emails they're sending, and how bulk they're sending at each time. Based on all these things, the sender-based reputation score is calculated, and based on that, the sender groups will also be matched. So this will be contained in the ICID, and also, as I mentioned, the interface that accepted the connection and from where the connection is being received, both the IP addresses will be mentioned, and also the reverse DNS host from where the email exactly got originated from, and all these things will be checked and confirmed. So, and also the mail flow policy that has matched for the sender group, that will also be mentioned, and from which country it is originated, that details also will be mentioned here. And also if the connection is secured, like from the sender has sent the connection in a secure manner, that is none other than TLS protocol. So which version has been used? TLS 1.2, 1.1, 1.0, which version is being used, and also the ciphers that are being used to secure the connection. All those things will be recorded in the ICID. And also the sender domain. If the sender domain is cisco.com, then that will also be mentioned there. And it will also mention which side the connection is. Is it incoming or outgoing? So incoming is nothing but we are receiving the connection to the iron port. Outgoing is nothing but you're sending the connection from the iron port to the internet. All those things I'll tell you in detail. And it also contains the RID, that is nothing but recipient ID. How many ever recipients are there? For each recipient, the RID will be there. So, for example, if an email contains 3 recipients, then 3 RIDs will be mentioned in that particular ICID block. So these all details will be covered in the ICID. And next comes the processing part of the email, as I mentioned. And throughout the ICD, the message ID will be mentioned. Message ID can be anything that ESA assigns. It can't be anything. It'll be the number of counts, how many emails that it gets, and based on that, each email gets a count. It's a message identification ID. So now, when it comes to the processing part, so based on the configuration, there are n number of security checks. But I'll tell you a few things. So ESA for sender authentication, they can use SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. These 3 checks will be done, and if these 3 checks are passed, and then next it will log in message ID header, and this is a unique identifier that is assigned to the every message. And next thing is the subject that got injected and the original subject of the email, and also the reverse DNS host, as I mentioned, and also the recipient details and the sender details. All those things will be mentioned. So here the sender domain reputation will also be done. In this sender domain reputation, what is the reputation of sender? Is it neutral? Is it good, bad? All those things will be mentioned, and also how young the domain is, and if there is any what is the threat category. All these things will be recorded. And again, it will record the from address and also the sender group that is matched and sender IP addresses. And if there is any attachments into the device, attachment in the message, that will also be recorded here. And that will also be logged, I mean to tell. And after this, so which mail policy it has matched. So in the incoming mail policy, if it is matching a default mail policy, it will tell it has matched default mail policy. I think you will be wondering why all these things are not there in the screen, but as I told, it's only public interface, so I could only put so much information. So in future, I'll try to put all the information that I'm talking about. But as of now, you can just hear what I say and understand, and also you can relate to this screen also, because it contains ICID, DCID, and MID, and when the IP address is mentioned, all those things, sender information, all those things. So. And coming back to our explanation, it also contains the mail policy. So incoming mail policy, if it is default policy, then default policy. The mail policies also are matched based on the recipient details. Otherwise, it is default policy. And here the incoming connection is over. And next comes the engines. Whichever engines, the engine services will be available only if the license is purchased to the device. So the services that are mentioned, that are enabled in the device, only those services will be processed, like anti-spam, antivirus, advanced malware protection, and outbreak filters. All these things, whichever service that they have taken. So I'll explain what all engines are there, but right now you just can understand these are the few checks that will happen in the device based on the, so spam check will happen and it will have a verdict, it is negative or positive or anything or suspected. These details will be mentioned. And virus, it is clean or how much virus it is, all these things. And advanced malware protection, it will check for the attachments that are present in the device, present in the message. And it will also give the verdict if it is clean or how it is, what is the disposition of the file, all those things. And if you have any content filters configured, all these things will be checked. So before it could go to any processing, first the message filter will be checked, and after that engine processing, and along with that content filter, all those things will happen. And after this, if everything goes good, like there is no malicious thing, malicious attachment, or the email is not spam, or there it doesn't contain any virus. So after this, it comes to a part where DCID. So as you can see in the screen, the DCID is mentioned, and the DCID is 8, and the MID is 6, and the RID is 0. So a DCID, in DCID, what it contains, I'll tell you just a moment. Yeah, so in DCID, it contains the sender IP address. Now the sender will be the email security appliance, and the recipient will be the destination host. Initially, the sender will be the original sender who's trying to send the email, and then the email connection was accepted by the Cisco interface, Cisco email security interface, that is ESA. So the sender was ESA, the receiving host was, the sender was the original sender, and the receiving host was ESA. And when it comes to the DCID, the sender will be ESA, and the receiving side would be the destination host, the original destination to which it needs to be sent. And in between the ESA, yeah, that's what it is. So here it contains the sender information, sender IP address, that is nothing but ESA IP address, and also the destination IP address to which it is to which the email is originated to. And also, if it is again, it's a secure connection, the TLS version, and also the ciphers that are being used. And it also contain it will also mention that queued for delivery, and then if the email is successfully delivered, then there will be a SMTP response. Okay, that means the email has been successfully delivered to the destination host. So this is a brief thing about how email lifecycle is, how it is being received, processed, and delivered. If you guys have any questions on any part which I've explained, please do let me know via comments. And if you like it, please like and share and subscribe. Thank you.